Yogi Ramsuratkumar, Yogi Ramsuratkumar, Yogi Ramsuratkumar, Jaya Guru Raya. Bhagwan Shri Yogi Ramsuratkumar ki jai. Sarvam Yogi Ramsuratkumararpanamastu. Again, today morning after the Nama Sankirtan, we are going to submit our prayer at the feet of Bhagwan. I would like to bring a certain event that took place in the temple when Bhagwan was seated at Sambandha Vinayakar shrine. One of those eldest Sivacharyas, the pujaris, came to Bhagwan. He was a devotee of Bhagwan. He folded his hands and prayed to Yogi Ramsuratkumar, Swami, very soon the celebrations are going to start. Please bless them for successful completion of that. Bhagwan, of course, blessed him, but said, why don't you go to Arunachaleshwara, to whom you are doing puja, and pray? Then the devotee said, Swami, Arunachaleshwara doesn't talk, whereas we could talk to you. Immediately, pat came the reply from Bhagwan. The politicians also talk, but they don't honor their word. Arunachaleshwara never talks, but he keeps up his duty. He keeps up his blessing. He has no eyes but sees, no ears but hears, no hands but work. Arunachaleshwara is working all the time. So you go and pray to him. Swami also often said, faith is the greatest God on the earth. After the Mahasamadhi of Bhagwan, a particular devotee by name Kumaraguru from Nagarkovil, he had his daughter-in-law. His daughter-in-law was pregnant, and I think she was in an advanced state. When she was taken up for a checkup in Tuticorin, the doctors found that the position of the baby was not right, and that she would be in great trouble during delivery. When the news was passed on to Kumaraguru, a devotee, immediately he rushed to his puja room, sat before Bhagwan's picture, and started chanting the name Yogi Ramsuratkumar, Yogi Ramsuratkumar, and began his prayer. He did it with great faith and with entire being. Soon he had a vision in which Bhagwan appeared. His daughter-in-law was also there sitting next to him, and Bhagwan started to peel a certain fruit and began to feed his daughter-in-law bit by bit. And after that, Bhagwan just touched her somewhere at the back, and then the vision was gone. But Kumaraguru knew that everything was going to be all right despite what the doctors predicted. True to that, soon after he got the news that the baby righted its position by itself, to the surprise of the doctors. Everything became all right. This is faith. This is prayer. This is chanting the name. It works. So we shall submit our prayer at the feet of the compassionate Bhagwan. Bhagwan, This evening, after the submission of our Nama Sankirtan, it is time to make our prayer. And before that, I would like to recall 2 or 3 incidents which illustrate the deep compassion, the boundless compassion of Bhagwan towards all creation, all beings. Once, when Bhagwan was there in the Arunachaleshwara Mandir, there was one devotee, Gajaraj, who was with him to report all these incidents, luckily for us. Gajaraji said, Bhagwan went and sat there near that 1,000-pillar mandap and then put his hand deep into his pocket and pulled out a 2-rupee note, called one of the devotees there and said, please get me a dozen bananas. Can you get it? The devotee said, Swami, if it's a little more, I can put my money. Yes, you can, but not more than 2 rupees. Now you buy this and come. At least get 12, a dozen. And then of course he brought fresh ones, long green bananas, 14 of them in one bunch. Swami was happy to see that. Immediately he got up in a jump and then started to drag Gajaraji inside. He went straight to the elephant. Bhagwan said to Gajaraji, see, yesterday the mahout was torturing, was hurting this elephant. The elephant is divine elephant. It belongs to the Arunachaleshwara Mandir, and it's also a worker of the temple. All the time, all the devotees come and stand here. It is blessing them constantly, moving its trunk. It is doing a lot of work, just like the mahout. And mahout tortured it yesterday, and it was in great pain. It was moving its body, swaying its head, unable to bear the pain. When Bhagwan said it, there were tears in his eyes. And then he said, Father blessed him yesterday, and now this beggar would like to feed him. He gave the bananas to the same mahout and said, you feed it. And he stood by until the whole thing was eaten by the elephant. And what was more, Bhagwan raised his hand and blessed the elephant and the mahout. For quite some time, he blessed them. Another day, Gajaraji, when he entered the temple, he found Yogi Ramsuratkumar walking up and down so busily, raising his hands, looking up at the tall tower all the time. Somebody said that he was doing it for quite a few days. And then they said, oh, he's a madman. He would do all these kinds of things. We are quite used to it. Gajaraji knew better than those people. He knew that every move that Swami took, every step, he was doing only his father's work. So he went and stood there quietly. And then Bhagwan said, Gajaraji, you see that beehive there on the tower? See how busy those bees are. Thousands of them. And then he dragged him to the inner corridor and pointed to a tree there and said, look, there was a beehive here. Thousands of bees were busy collecting honey from varied flowers. And they were at work for so many days, so many months, and built a huge one. But one day, it was all gone. Somebody had come, removed the whole thing. how much those bees would have felt. And again, he had tears in his eyes. They do such hard work, bringing little by little by little that honey and save it up. But you see what man does to that. And so now they've become very clever. You see up there on the tower? So they have reached a height where man could not enter. And now they have comfortably and safely built a beehive. And then he added, my father has been blessing them for the past few days so that nobody would touch the beehive. No selfish man would do that. Their hard work would be saved. There were tears in his eyes. Another time, Swami was standing before the Sthala Vriksha, the divine tree of Arunachaleshwara Mandir, which has been there for several years. Swami stood there for nearly 30 minutes staring at it. And again his eyes had filled up. And there was somebody passing by, and Gajaraj was sitting in a corner quietly watching the whole thing. And this somebody told Gajaraj, oh, this Swami has been doing it for the past few days, staring at this. This Swami would always do such things. Only God knows what he is doing. And then he passed on. But Gajaraj knew better. He knew how much of work Swami was doing. And then Swami called Gajaraj and said, just see, this is a divine tree. It belongs to Arunachaleshwara. This has been here for quite a few years, radiating its divinity. And see what man has done to this. And there he saw, for nearly 1 square meter, 1 meter breadth and 1 meter height, the trunk, the upper sheath was peeled. Swami said, they do all this only for the sake of the medicine. But then out there, outside the temple, there are so many such trees, buckle trees. They could easily take it from them. But they should come and put their hand upon this divine tree. Now you see, this would have weakened the tree. And the tree would stand here for a long time. Whereas this tree is a divine tree, it has to be protected. My father has been blessing this tree for the past few days, adding strength, protection to this tree. Come. He took him by hand and then they walked ahead. Now on the way, they ran into the superintendent of the temple. It was again by a divine will that Swami ran into him. And then Swami complained, you just see how this tree is maintained. It's a divine tree. It is a Sthala Vriksha. It belongs to this holy site. And see what people have done to this. How could you allow this? Don't do this because the tree will become weak and it will die. And then the superintendent saw the whole thing, came near. With great devotion and fear, he folded his hands and said, Swami, we are very sorry. We have failed in our duty, but now we will see to it this is well protected. So after this assurance, Swami left, but his eyes betrayed his inner feeling. There were tears, despite all that he did. Such is the compassion, boundless, divine compassion of Swami, to which we would also appeal and offer our prayer, because the world is also suffering today. The humanity is becoming weaker and weaker because there's so much adharma, violence. People are doing things as they like. Can contain them. and because of which there are attacks like this virus, and the humanity is suffering. Bhagwan, beloved Bhagwan, before we offer our prayers to Bhagwan, I would like to bring to your attention one or two incidents which display his boundless love for the entire creation. There was a time when he was seated in the veranda of Sudama, completely absorbed in his work. Bhagwan was doing work at various levels. We could be sitting just 1 foot away from him and not know what was going on. He could be anywhere in the universe. So one day, when he was completely absorbed in the work, he was almost still. Suddenly, his body was writhing in pain. He was throwing his hands out, twisting his body, and there was such agony of tears on his face. His face was radiant. At the same time, it was red with the flushing of the blood. And then in one jump, he got up, he ran down the steps of Sudama, and then walked on the road, went to the next plot, and stood there with just 1 foot in the front and 1 foot in the back. Very much like Sri Rama that we see in the pictures. And he was looking up. There were tears in his eyes, and his face was red with anger. And there, up on the tree in different branches, 2 or 3 people were sitting very comfortably, plucking the leaves. And the minute he looked up, they all saw him, and immediately they jumped down and ran away. He stood there for some time, blessing the tree, came back, and then said, "Look what they are doing to that tree." That tree was going through such pain. This beggar was unable to bear it. Because tomorrow is a festival, and a string of mango leaves, very auspicious. These people are coming and filling up their bags. They don't understand what the tree itself is going through because of that. And again there were tears in his eyes. Such is the compassion, such is the identification with the entire creation, that the pain of an elephant, the pain of a tree, his body was going through. So I understood. He often said that everything in this universe is connected to each other closely. So much so, if somebody should trample upon a blade of grass, a distant star would tremble. Such is the connection. The whole prapancha, the whole universe is one huge body, the body of God. Just as a mosquito bites somewhere or a bite of an ant, the entire body of ours feel, and immediately the hand goes to the spot, the whole body adjusts itself to ease up the pain there, and the mind is completely focused on that. So this is what would be happening to all these great souls who have become one with the entire creation. And not only that, whenever he sat in the garden, and there'll be those big ants going here and there, and particularly very attracted to Bhagwan, they would be mostly near him, and then naturally I would be very agitated, but then he would stop me with a sweep of his hand and say, he would start tapping the ground behind the ant, and the ant would slowly move away. He would not want us to touch that and sweep it off. He would say, we are in their territory. We are the transgressors. We have transgressed. So they are not to be blamed, and don't torture them. Don't hurt them, he would say. And again, I can go on narrating one after the other. When we bought this garden of Sudama, it was done by Mother Vijayalakshmi. We wanted to clear, at that time Swami was still in Sanadi Street House, so we wanted to clean up this garden and plant several plants and trees. So we have called somebody, and before that we wanted to go and take permission from him. But Bhagwan was alarmed when we said we were going to clear up the whole place. He said, there must be other trees and plants there. Yes, Swami, they're all the wild plants and they're of no use and they're everywhere. He said, no, don't do anything to them. Let them be. There's no need to clean up the place. Such was his compassion, the glory of his compassion, that we were stunned. And of course, we never did anything after that. So you see, such boundless, deep compassion we are appealing to for relief, immediate relief from the present crisis. We shall offer our prayers to this embodiment of compassion. This evening, after the Nama chanting, before we submit our prayer at the feet of Bhagwan, we shall recall a particular incident where how Bhagwan helped achieve a great thing for a couple. The Nama of Bhagwan, the glory of Bhagwan's Nama. From Trichy, one Mrs. Vrinda and Mr. Ramanan, even from their early 20s, they were interested in going up to the Himalayas, visiting several parts of it, and catching the different moods, the different weather patterns of these Himalayas. Twice a year, they would visit the Himalayas, and sometimes they would go to the Western Ghats also. They have been writing a book which they named The Mountains of Our Destiny, for which sake, in order to complete the book, they needed some photographs of the snow leopard, which should be roaming at the height of 14,000 feet and above. You can imagine. So they have to go up till there, look for this. And they had already made 3 winter expeditions. And every time they would walk days together on the trail of a snow leopard, but all in vain. They would return to their room tired and disappointed. And then in 1918, Mrs. Vrinda and Mr. Ramanan made an attempt. They came up to the Himalayas. But this time, by then they had heard about Yogi Ramsuratkumar and they had picked up his Nama. So the Nama was with them. So after they reached a village called Kibber, settled down in a room there, waiting for the right opportunity to sight the snow leopard, Vrinda started to chant the name, but then she had a dilemma. She was thinking, how could I use Swami's name for such things? They are mundane. How can I ask, pray to Bhagwan for such things? At the same time, she had a very deep longing to sight such a snow leopard and complete the book. So she would chant sometimes, and then she would drop sometimes. And then once a spotter from one of the villages there came running and told them there was a snow leopard down there in the ravines with a kill, with their prey, which is the blue mountain goat, the blue sheep. So they were very excited. They ran all the way, unmindful of the knee-deep snow. They somehow reached the place where they comfortably settle down and have a good look at the snow leopard. They were reporting that the snow leopard was with its cubs, 2 cubs, on the kill. But unfortunately, when they reached the place, there were already many photographers and some tourists, and there was quite a bit of noise. Alarmed, the snow leopard with its cubs went into hiding. So they were very disappointed. And they waited for 2 hours, but in vain. So they returned to the room, tired, disappointed. But this time, Vrinda was very desperate. She had to somehow sight a snow leopard. And now she knew only Bhagwan could help her. So she started to chant the name intensely, soulfully, desperately. She was chanting, and begging, imploring, and begging Bhagwan, please arrange for this. 2 days passed uneventfully. Nothing happened. But the 3rd day, when they almost decided it just was not possible anymore, a spotter came from the village to their guide saying, now again they could sight a snow leopard with its prey, with its kill. And this time the snow leopard would not go into hiding, because when it has a kill, it's like having a dish on the table. So the snow leopard has been served a good dish for 3 days, and so it would walk very leisurely, come back and gorge on the prey, and then stay around, and sometimes would even sunbathe on one of the rocks. So the opportunities were many. So these people were highly excited. They ran to the spot, and this time they were not other people. So the whole show was left to them. And for 3 days they stayed around. Whenever they wanted, they came and had a beautiful darshan of the snow leopard and its cubs with a kill. So they took many photographs to their satisfaction and returned. The one great thing about this, every time they would come out to have the darshan of the snow leopard, a butterfly would accompany them. So much so, Mr. Ramanan would point out, see, Swami is accompanying us. So they knew the whole thing was arranged by Yogi Ramsuratkumar for the asking. So they were very happy, and they could complete the book of their life, the mountains of our destiny. In fact, only for the past 2.5 years, they've been introduced to Yogi Ramsuratkumar, and they were chanting the name. And now, to their heartfelt fill, they had found this, what they had wanted, what they had longed for, to complete the book. And Bhagwan, whatever is being asked for, Bhagwan definitely gives it, but at his own time, at his chosen time, and the way he would arrange it. So after chanting the name, after praying even desperately, we have to leave it to him to do the work at his chosen time, at his will. So we shall also submit our prayer we know that how Bhagwan is helping people at different levels in different ways. So we have been submitting the Nama and the prayers every day without fail for the past 2 months. And I am very sure that the Nama is working, the prayer is working. So we shall add one more prayer. Bhagwan, beloved Bhagwan,